As Betty navigated the complexities of her midlife relationship, she wasn't aware of the looming presence of narcissism until the clues began to stack up. Her partner, Richard, was charming, attentive, and captured every room he entered. Yet, beneath the superficial allure, a pattern of manipulation started to surface. Betty's friends noticed it first. Conversations with Richard always seemed to center around him, his achievements, his desires, his woes. It was subtle at first, a small correction, a slight exaggeration, an interruption framed as a witty interjection. But as time progressed, the interactions became increasingly one-sided. Betty felt the strain when trying to maintain her friendships and family ties. Her parents, initially impressed by Richard's charisma, gradually started observing his monopolizing tendencies during family gatherings. Richard's control, masked as concern and care, dictated the terms of Betty's life and slowly isolated her from her support network. The impact was profound on Betty's children from her previous marriage. Her son, Michael, a bright 14-year-old, began exhibiting anxiety signs he had never shown before. "Why does Richard always get the last word?" he questioned, confused by the endless undermining disguised as fatherly advice. Her daughter, Emily, 10, became withdrawn, hesitant to share her artwork and stories, fearing criticism that came as constructive. The narcissist's influence permeated through their household like a quiet storm, leaving emotional turbulence in its wake. Betty initially dismissed these signs, believing Richard's charm would eventually soften the disharmonious edges of their family dynamics. However, as time passed, the toll of this toxic relationship became undeniable. Holidays once filled with laughter turned into tense affairs, and her peace of mind frayed under the constant validity checks her partner imposed. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day at work compounded by Richard's latest critique of how she managed dinner preparations, Betty sat quietly in her kitchen, reflecting on the ripple effect that had entrapped her family. It dawned on her that it wasn't just her relationship being affected, it was the psychological well-being of her children, the fading warmth in family interactions, and the peace of mind she once cherished. The stakes were far higher than she anticipated. Seeking help, Betty finally decided to reach out to her parents and friends. Together, they devised a plan to encourage dialogue and provide the support she deeply needed. Gradually, she acknowledged Richard's patterns, the gaslighting, the emotional unavailability, the feigned benevolence that masked control. The journey to mend the damage involved family therapy and difficult conversations. Betty set boundaries for interactions with Richard, shielded her children from toxic exchanges, and reclaimed the peace that had been fleeting for far too long. The process to untangle the generational impact of this narcissistic relationship was challenging, with moments of doubt and resilience. Betty, armed with awareness, finally began restoring a semblance of serenity not only for herself, but for the generations that bore collateral damage. Through her ordeal, Betty learned the importance of recognizing narcissism's insidious effects across generations. It was not just her battle, it was an awakening for everyone who had been caught in the web of charming deceit. Betty's experience reminds us all that addressing the ripple effect is essential for healing, growth, and reclaiming one's life.